you, and welcome to the Karen Mitches podcast.
Hi.
Today we have Janice Israeloff.
Hello.
Thanks for coming, Janice.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. We match.
I know.
Right?
Great minds.
Yeah.
Dress alike.
Stylish ladies.
This is like the chill Saturday look.
Yeah.
For funny women.
Yeah. Are we funny though? Are women funny?
I hope so. I'm trying to get paid for it.
I love that whole argument. Oh, women aren't funny. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. We're not horny either. Right? Stupid.
I always like to ask people who question that, like, aren't any of the women in your family funny? I feel like whatever you say about women, you should have to say it directly about your mom and like your grandma.
My mother was the most funniest person ever. She was fucking hilarious. And when my sisters and I get together, oh my God, it's crazy. I'm seeing my sister for Christmas this year, and oh my gosh, she has some tea. We laugh so hard. We pee. Like, what the hell? Like, women are funny. Like, we're funny. Just comedy is such a hard-nosed, male-dominated. Just the words that I've used in comedy, like, I killed it.
Yep.
I crushed it. I murdered it. Fuck yeah. That's when I think of comedy, so we go into comedy as women, and we have that to, those walls. I feel like when I started performing in groups of rooms with female comedians and women that would come to the shows, I felt like the wall came down. I felt like I could relax more on stage and like really just talk about the things that are really going on in my life and not be afraid. I feel like when I was performing in these male-centric spaces, even clubs, like yucks, like, oh, did I say, am I allowed to mention clubs?
You can insult anyone you want.
I don't want to insult them. I'm just saying clubs in general are run by men, and most of the comedians that get on are men, right? So you still have that wall, and so you feel like you need to, to get the laughs. Well, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just weak and I'm a people pleaser. But like to get the laughs, I would be doing material that would be like, highly sexual or, things I can relate to. Or and I feel like when I'm in rooms that are like women come to see me, I can actually just like talk about like what it's like to be a mom and like raising your kids and like intergenerational trauma or whatever. Yeah. Menopause, like, because
you're finding your art in your own life, right? It's comments on what you go through.
Yeah, I guess I'm also still just finding out like my true voice. Like I just recently found out that I was diagnosed with ADHD.
Oh my God.
62 years old, you're like, why? You're almost dead. Why would you get diagnosed? Like you lived your whole fucking life. You did okay. You have a house. Like, why would you my doctor even said, like, why would you want to get diagnosed at this stage of your life? And I says, I just want to know. And the reason I want to know is because like my kids talked to me about like when they were growing up, how like there was so much chaos in the house. Like it was messy. I was forgetful. And like, I guess maybe that affected them. Like that affected them growing up, like the chaos. And so I just want to know for my own sense of self, like who I am, like before I die, I want to know, like, just want to know if I have this anyways.
No, but I feel that too, because my siblings and I talk about it, like, because some of my nieces and nephews have diagnoses, and then we're like, well, what was wrong with us? Because something happened. And like, I think it's just part of self-reflection to go like, do I have something that's been part of my life, right? Your growing up, your work years, whatever.
I also did terrible in school. Like I was a terrible student. I was always told to be quiet. I was always impulsive. I always called out answers, and yet I couldn't concentrate or study. And it's a miracle that I got through school. I mean, I realize now that I'm a fucking genius. Like I have a degree. I have an English degree from York University, like from the 80s. And it took me like almost 5 years to do a 3-year degree. But hey, I just, I went through the summers and, I didn't take time off, and I took, I would fail a course, I'd take another course. Like it was hard, but I did it. I mean, I have a learning disability. I wasn't dumb. I just have ADHD. At the same time, I was really excited when I first found out, but now I realize, like everyone has it. So like if everyone had, even the psychiatrist when he was doing the final interview, he was describing what it was, and he says, you know, he had some statistic that it's like so many people have it. If so many people have it, isn't it just part of the human experience?
Yeah. Well, I was also, one of my sisters who thinks she might be ADHD has like concurrent undergraduate degrees in civil engineering and computer science, and then she has an MBA finance. So if she did that with her ADHD, like, you know what I mean? It's like there's lots of people who have stuff, but they're still crushed it at stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's hyper focus, right?
Yeah.
And also, like, doesn't ADHD make you a better comedian? Like, I blurt stuff out on stage, like, you know, and like I talk, like when I'm on stage, I'm like hyper focused. Like that's the only time I feel like I can hyper focus is when I'm performing.
Yeah. So then in some sense, is it like a disorder, or is it like a different, because they say neurodiverse to talk about ADHD and autism. So it's like, is that just like some people are bred to be performers and that's called, like, it's a different style of thinking, but it has like a service in society? So,
I think so, because like I feel like, you know, the I also like what I do during the day is I work with Alzheimer's patients, and I'm able to like hyper focus with a person who's asking me repeated questions for an hour, and I just answer the questions. Like most people would just want to get fucking irritated. Like they tell the same stories over again, and they repeat themselves, and they say, what time is it, every 10 minutes, and I just answer them. Maybe it's because I understand where they're coming from. Like I'm kind of like that too. Like I repeat stories, I blurt stuff out. I'm a lot like an Alzheimer's patient, so I feel like it's cool chilling with these people. Like we do a puzzle for 2 hours, and it's like, I'm getting paid to be nice to this lady.
Do you ever do your, like, practice your comedy at your job?
Oh no, but I do gather. I also work in an organization that's run by the Catholic Church. It's they're all nuns that live there.
Oh wow!
So it's a very religious place. So I am gathering comedy all day. What with me being raised as an Orthodox Jew, I feel like the whole situation is bizarre. I was raised as an Orthodox Jew, and I'm working now for like a nunnery.
Yeah,
like
that's
what?
Amazing. Okay, but
so I am kind of like, I have a lot of new material that I'm building. Is this like completely wild? It's just, sometimes I'm just like, this is like Catholicism. I didn't know anything about Catholicism other than like, you know, Jesus was one of us.
Yes.
And I never understood like why somebody wouldn't like Jews when Jesus is a Jew. Like I never understood those type of people.
Yeah.
If they were Christian and they were, I don't know. It's just it's weird. I'm just learning also like what priests do. Like I never knew. I read things. I didn't even know what nuns did. Like I got this job and I'm like, you know, like I was scared of them. Like I heard scary things, but they're actually like you know, a lot of them were teachers and professors and nurses, and like a lot of them, they're amazing, these women.
I worked in a condo building, like a newly built condo, helping the homeowners move in, and one of the tenants was a nun, but she had like an advanced degree in social work, and she had all these books, and some of them were Christian, like heavy books, but then some of them were social work books, and she was like the nicest lady, and she just bought a condo in a building that like on Church, and it was like all gay men in the building, and she was friends with everyone. They're amazing. These women are great. One woman was an addiction counselor. One woman is 101 years old, and she has PhDs. She was a professor, and she's incredible. We were playing Scrabble the other day, and she was actually playing with me. And 101 years old. Yeah, she's really stylish too. Like she likes to wear like when they no longer have to wear the habits since the 60s. Some this one particular sister, we call them sisters, is so stylish, and I dress up like a 9-year-old every day. Like I'm right into the brooch. I have to dress like with like turtlenecks and long sleeves because I can't wear anything too slutty. I had to throw out all my clothes when I started working there. I'm like, my clothes are too slutty. Oh no.
Like I had like low cut tops, you know, cleavage, you know, like whatever, you know, short skirts. I'm like, I can't wear this. And it slowly, I've been there 5 years now. Slowly my wardrobe became more and more, I guess, you know, like there's a lot of young women that thrift. And they wear like that kind of old fashioned stuff, which looks great on young women. But when older women wear it, we just look like old.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I like fur collars, fake fur, and wild Christmas sweaters. Like now it's the season.
Yeah.
December. And they love it. They love they love it. They love some of them, like a lot of them, some of them are a little bit like,
like for the most part,
they're fun. Yeah.
Okay. Being an Orthodox Jew, is that really, that's super religious?
Yeah. Growing up, because my dad was Orthodox, and he came from, I guess in 1948, he came to Canada, which was the year that Israel became a sovereign state. So he was literally like from Palestine. So he would be considered Palestinian, a Palestinian Jew, and then an Israeli. So he came to Montreal, and my grandfather was very religious. He had been living in Israel like generations and generations, and he was very. My grandmother lived in Canada till she was 8, and then she was orphaned, and then she was sent to Israel because they had family there, and some of her family was here. That's how they ended up back in Canada. But he was very religious. And my parents, my mother was Jewish too, but she was born in Hamilton, Ontario. And her parents were Eastern European from Poland. And they came here just before World War II. Anyways, yeah, we were very religious. Like, my parents were the first Jewish family in 1960 to land on the West Island of Montreal. And they started the synagogue there, which is now a huge congregation.
That's amazing.
So they were pioneers in the Jewish community. And
Montreal is really known for its Jewish community.
It is. It's also known for its anti-Semitism.
but also a growing...
Maman, si juif, and fucking Jew! Oh my God, I'm going to get canceled on this podcast. Israeloff, hey, mon Dieu, you fucking Jew. Oh my God. It's okay. It's full circle, kids. Getting shit thrown at us now too. Yeah, they were very religious. I went to a Hebrew school, a private Hebrew school, but it was so far from where we lived because there was a small Jewish community. This is the West Island of Montreal my parents lived. So it would be like the Mississauga or like of Toronto, like it's out there, right?
Yeah.
There was a Jewish community, obviously, in Montreal.
But center in the city.
Côte St. Luc would be a community. There was Chamedy. There was different areas of Montreal, but not on the West Island. So the school that I went to in grade 1.
And people kind of freak out when there's new Jews in town.
I guess so. I don't know. Like I remember going to this school, and my parents drove. It was called Talmud Torah, and it was a Jewish school, and they would drive me to school every day on the highway. It seemed like I was driving. It was probably like a 40-minute drive, but it seemed like I was driving forever when you're a little kid. I had no friends. All the kids, I was like the weird kid from the West Island. And the ADHD, I couldn't, it was so hard. I had to learn Hebrew. I had to learn all my things. I was failing terrible. There's a stereotype that Jews are really smart, but I break that.
I think the thing
so they took me out, put me in
like,
a public school.
You want to be, you're smart when like you leave the Jewish school and you go to the regular school, and it's like you might have been not doing well at Jewish school, but then you look better at regular school.
Well, this is how I end up in a nunnery in long-term care, because I did apply to the Jewish ones. And I did not have the education.
Oh,
I have a
shit.
diploma. I have a diploma from George Brown College in activation and recreation. So,
Okay.
I mean, you have to, or they won't hire you. But I don't have a 4-year degree in therapeutic recreation. So maybe the Jewish ones want it more. I don't know. I didn't get hired.
They wanted that really specific.
I mean, who knows? But like, it's funny. It's funny to me.
Yeah. So is yours sort of applicable? Like you could have done recreation stuff like outside of the long-term care?
No, my course, it's called activation coordinator, and it's specific to the to older adults and the elderly. So you're specifically training to do programs for older population. So I'm specialized in doing programs for people, I'd say over 50, but like, I mean, it's more like over 90.
What made you think like I want to roll with the 90-year-old crowd?
Well, my dad had Alzheimer's. He got Alzheimer's, and I was learning a lot about it when he got sick. And I also just used to hang out with my grandmother when I was a kid. I was always like the one that would sit with the old people at the gatherings. I would always just sit with them and just hang out with them. And I don't know. I always felt comfortable around older people. Like, I feel like they judge you less, and they think you're cute, and they think you're nice, and they're just really nice to you.
They're people who appreciate vibes.
Yeah, like, I feel like because I was weird, like, I didn't feel like, even if I was hanging out with people my own age, I always felt like, even today, like, I feel like everyone hates me, like I'm a weird. I just feel like I'm always on the outs. And maybe that's just, now that I'm neurodiverse, maybe that's what that was. I wasn't really just an idiot. I was just neurodiverse. Like, like, I just feel like I don't fit in anywhere. But when I'm with old people, like, they think I'm a genius because I know where the bathroom is.
Yeah.
Like, they think I sing really good. Like, now it's the Christmas Carol season, which is hilarious, because I do a mean silent night.
That's amazing.
And I do it. And I used to do musical theater. Like, I'm an actor. I was terrible at musical theater, but as I ended up in comedy. But I just belt those tunes out, and they love it. I mean, half of them can't hear, but like, they just love it. They sing along with me. They appreciate it. Like, I take a lady shopping, and like, every nun comes up to me after and says, "Thank you for taking Sister Margie shopping." Like, they're so appreciative. I didn't do anything. I just took her to the mall and helped her try shoes on, made sure she, got what she needed, and made sure she was putting in the right numbers with her credit card, like, because she's a little confused or whatever. Yeah. And I was cracking jokes with her. She's great. Like, we went into the shoe store, and they had these shoes. She wanted like a pair of white running shoes. She walks with a walker. But I had her in the wheelchair for the mall that day. And I kept bringing her like sparkly shoes, like the glitter ones, the disco shoes, those running shoes.
Yes.
And I'm like, this would be good for mass. Like, you could just go to mass in these. And she goes, yeah, I'm sure the nuns would love that. They have such a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
I go, these are red, these are fancy, we had such a good time. I mean, I don't know. And also, old people have lived their lives. Like, young people, I love hanging out with young people because they have energy and they can do things. Like, I like going to exercise class and stuff. But there is something about old people that they just kind of know what life's about. Like, they know what's important.
There's like proportionate. Like, do you know when people get how big of a deal something is, as opposed to like thinking everything is a big deal?
Yeah. Like, they're just happy to wake up every morning.
Yeah.
And be alive and look out. Like, I understand like why they go bird watching.
Yeah.
Like, I understand those things now, like why old people like to garden.
Yeah.
As I get older, I want to see things grow, because as you get older, you see things die. I'm seeing people die all the time. I have to attend so many, because they're so religious. They have a church, like a chapel in the facility, and they have the body laid out and everything, which is like not a Jewish thing, but you have to pay respect. So I see a lot of that happen. Of course, people die in long-term care. That's where they go at the end of their life. So old people, they appreciate things like gardening, like birds, because birds, like, they fly towards heaven. Like, I understand these things now, which means I'm getting old.
Yeah.
Like, it's different, like, when you're younger. Like,
yeah. But I think, I don't know. I remember when I went into my last year of high school, my oldest, one of my sisters moved away for school, and it really upset me, and it really like had a huge effect on my life. But it was like hard to explain to people. Like, I was going through something like every day because of that. And I remember the only people that like respected it was like my grandmother and my great aunt. And I didn't even tell them because I just thought no one got it. And my mom just mentioned, oh, like, Elizabeth's gone now. Like, and they were like, they looked at me, they were like, that must be so hard for you. And I was like, it is. It's really hard. It's hard every day.
Yeah.
And they got like how, somebody who's in your life every day being away from you would be like a big deal. Whereas like the younger people's attitude is like, well, you just go on with your day. Like, don't worry about stupid shit, but that's kind of like the most important stuff.
It's so true, because old people have seen, they like these nuns they've seen World War II. Like, they lived through it. They were probably teenagers at the time. They probably, saw family members die in the, like, they've been through stuff. And, just like their siblings, and they die off, and like they're like, it's like they've seen things, so they understand loss.
Yeah, because if you get up there, chances are like your siblings, you could have littler siblings that are gone ahead of you. And
yeah, there's a lot of that happens. And I don't know, I just feel like old people are just I don't know, they're less judgment. They don't have time to like judge, like, be judgmental of, like what you're wearing or what job you do. Like, they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care what, like, how much money you make. Like, that doesn't matter. Like, when you get old, like, it doesn't.
At a certain point, everyone's job's over.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to, just enjoy what you're put on this earth to do, whatever that is. So I feel like that has been good that I've worked in long-term care. At the same time, I'm obsessed with death.
Are you gardening?
It's kind of cold now, but I do like to dabble in the garden. I have a little garden in my backyard. I like it.
I was just watching did you see, what's her name? Martha Stewart.
Oh yeah.
They have a documentary out on
Oh
her.
yeah. I haven't seen it, but
like,
I've seen the trailer.
She talks about gardening in it. Like, she gardened as a kid. Like, her dad taught them all how to garden. It was like her lifelong like passion, and she thinks it's like the secret to happiness. And I was like, should I take up gardening?
Also, Pam Anderson is into like gardening and doing all. She wrote a cookbook and all that kind of.
Oh, I like Pam Anderson.
Yeah, she's one.
I feel like she is funny, genuinely.
Yeah, she talks about that. Yeah, gardening is. I love getting. It's where you get your hands in the dirt and you see things grow, and I don't know. I enjoy it. My daughter works for a garden center.
Oh, nice.
So she's learned a lot, over the years working for this garden center. But yeah, I do. I love flowers. I love gardening. I'm in charge of the flowers at the nursing home. There's a deck on the 3rd floor, and every spring I go and get flowers at Loblaws, and we go out there, and yeah, it's really nice. I take the sisters out who are wheelchair bound, or they can't get out of their wheelchair. They have to stay, they're really elderly. And I shouldn't say wheelchair bound. My friend's going to kill me.
What are you supposed to say?
A person who uses a mobility device. So they're not really bound. They're not really bound in the wheelchair.
Not
but
tied to it.
This particular woman, she's very old, and she had a stroke, so she can't get out of her wheelchair. But so she's really dependent on people taking her places. So whenever we garden, I take her out on the deck, and she loves it. She loves the bright pink flowers. So I usually pick bright colors.
I love it. I feel like you have a very cool life. Like, your job sounds very chill and like fulfilling.
I really enjoy my work. It's flexible. So if I have like a commercial or a TV or comedy, I can, because I work part-time casual, like a nurse would, like, so you switch shifts with people.
Yeah. And then that lets you do your film and television stuff. So like I'm doing like, it's like 50-50, like the film and TV is like, it's like in terms of my job. I'm not full-time actor. I can't really afford it, but at the same time, it's not, I hate working full-time too. I like having the both. It gives you like, because if you're just acting, it's a lot of, I don't know.
Oh, if I would just be acting, it wouldn't just, you do a project and then it wraps, and then there's usually a lull before you get the next project.
Yeah.
I'm not at a position where scripts thrown at me. I do hundreds of auditions, and every now and then you land something cool.
Yeah. And you've had some cool stuff lately.
Yes, I was in a Hallmark movie. It's on Netflix called Hot Frosty, a Christmas movie, and Lacey Chabert is the lead in it. And she is Gretchen Wieners in Mean Girls. And she is amazing, and she's done like 30 some odd Hallmark movies.
Yeah, she's my age.
Yeah.
Very close.
Yeah, she's great. And Dustin Milligan is in it. He was on Schitt's Creek. He plays Hot Frosty.
Oh my God.
And he is amazing. Like, he's such a good actor. He's so funny. And it's kind of satirizing the whole Hallmark thing. Basically, premise, Frosty the Snowman comes to life and he's hot. And so the character...
So it's a comedy.
It's a comedy.
It is a parody of...
Yeah, it's a parody. It's a comedy. I mean, he's a hot Frosty, and he learns how to fix everything in the town. And my character is Ladies Who Lunch. Lauren Holly is in it as well, and she plays the character where she has all these lady friends, and she has this fancy house, and we're all having like lunch, and we're all like watching him like fix the ceiling, you know? And we're like, ooh, Frosty. So I'm getting cast as horny old ladies.
I love it. I think that is a cool, if you're going to be typecast.
Isn't that fun?
Yes.
And the comedy.
And you can keep going and going, like, because Betty White was...
I know.
How old was she when she was still acting?
99.
Like, right at the end? She was a horny old lady right to the end.
I know. I don't know if you ever saw that sketch with the muffins on Saturday Night Live when she talks about muffins.
No.
Buttering her muffin. So funny. It was a classic sketch. But she was an incredible actress. Comic timing. She had a huge career. You know, before, I mean, she was on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and before that, she worked in radio. She was a pioneer. Like, I started late in my career. I mean, I've been acting my whole life, but people say sometimes I'll be on set and they'll be like, "You've been doing this a long time?" I go, "Yeah, I have, but I'm just new to getting booked on shit." So I haven't really been getting booked on shit for a long time, but I've been acting in weird shit my whole life, like fringe festivals, basements, comedy, like whatever.
Yeah.
Now finally my category has come in.
It's like, this is what you shine as.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Or like I'm shooting a Tim Hortons commercial on Tuesday, and I play a hockey grandma.
I love
it. Like I have to roll up the rim.
Yeah.
I'm just having so much fun. It's so much fun. I really...
I feel like as a Canadian, it's like sort of patriotic or somehow to do
My husband's done too.
Commercial.
My husband's also an actor. So we help each other with auditions, which is I'm very blessed. We also fight too about it, because sometimes he'll be like, "You're not putting in 100%. We need we need to get it." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to do this." Like sometimes I can be, when you're getting like so many auditions, like back to back, and you work like I'm still working. Sometimes I come home at 8:30 at night. Like I work the evening shift, and then I have to do an audition, and so it could be taxing. But yeah, but otherwise it's It's true. Tim Hortons, it means I'm really Canadian actor now.
Yes.
I just have to get on Murdoch Mysteries.
Yeah. That is, the quintessential Toronto actor job. But also now we have our own Law and Order in Toronto.
Oh, is that still going?
Well, I know they had their first season. I don't know. I think it started in the spring, so...
I heard a comedian do a whole bit on that. A Canadian comedian. I wish I knew I wish I could mention them, but I remember going to a mic and having them do a whole thing about how what would a Canadian LA law was it LA law? It was
Law and Order.
Law and Order. What would that be like? What, like raccoons are robbing your garbage or something? I mean, it was just so funny. He was going on about like Toronto is so safe. Like we're not talking about like, I don't know.
Well, now we have the carjacking, so I feel like that should be in next season.
Yeah, you have a carjacking, you get shot, and then you go get free health care. And then you go get some fentanyl at the harm reduction clinic. You know, it's like, that's Canada. And then you can say how horrible Trudeau is.
I remember the first episode was like some crypto bro.
Yeah.
Remember,
I never watched the Canadian. I don't tend to watch Law and Order.
I've been obsessed with it.
I should.
I've seen, I think, I missed the last few seasons of SVU, but up to like season 19, I could say I'd seen every episode of that show.
Well, I got to get on watching that, because I got to see who they're casting.
Yes.
Like, are they casting horny old ladies? Like, I don't know. I think I might be like, I may have like, I would love to be the Hallmark.
Like you should be on that show.
I feel like
think about like the evil condo board owner who like kills somebody.
Oh yeah. It's true. I am pretty versatile. I also did an episode of a show called Twisted Metal, which is based on a video game. And it's like, kind of like a Mad Max End of the World type show where we have the characters are on a quest kind of thing. And, like there's no food. And I play this psychopathic character called MoMA. And, she's trying to survive. I had a fight choreographer and stuff. Totally opposite of the horny old lady, right? So who knows? I mean, I'm game. Like I take that script and I look at it and I just have a blast with it. We shot for that one, we shot the audition in my garage. And yeah, I was like, crawling on the floor, like pretending I was fighting. It was so fun.
So that was like a self-tape?
Yeah, the self-tape, which I got booked from that. So that's coming out in 2025. We'll see.
Okay, so that's Twisted Metal.
Yeah, it's called Twisted Metal.
Okay.
It's the first season was on Prime.
Nice.
So you can to watch. I'm not in the first season. It's coming out. I think it's coming out in the spring. So, yeah, I like to watch the shows to see who they're casting.
What would be your dream acting type of character to play?
I can't say that I would have a type of character to play because every time I get cast in anything, it's the best day of my life.
So it's just like any character.
Well, no, it's like. I remember you get cast in something. I remember I did a Turtles commercial last year. I love turtles. And so the day that I was there, I was like, it was the happiest day of my life. And then, I got cast in something else after. I did the Hot Frosty and I was like, oh my God, this is the best day ever. And then I got on Twisted Metal and I'm like, oh, this is the best day ever. Cause you go there and you see the people that you've watched in movies, but they're riding in the car with you and you're like, you don't want to be that weird, I'm such a fan, some weird, creepy, you're so pretty in person. You never work again. You know what I mean? I'm just sitting beside them and they're looking at their script, and I'm like, oh, I'm thinking I'm in a movie. Oh my God, I'm in a movie. And you're trying to be professional and chill, but I'm not chill and professional. I don't even know what I'm doing on set. I don't even know how to, I don't feel like I don't even know how to act. I'm just action. And I'm just and so, but what I would love to do, I don't know about characters because I feel like I can embody and live in the shoes of any character. I love living in the shoes of characters because then I'm not me. I'm hyper-focused. And that's the only time I have no anxiety.
Amazing.
Is when I'm acting or when I'm on stage doing comedy. Comedy gives me more anxiety. I've realized. I thought I was going to be a comedian forever, and then the acting stuff started coming in. So then I realized I went back to my roots because I did a lot of theater and clown and all that kind of stuff back in the day. But what I would love to do, I would love to get on a series like Virgin River. You ever watch that show? It's
No.
The nurse used to live in LA, the character, and then all kinds of shit happens to her. So she moves to a small town and rebuilds her life and then meets this hot guy in the town, and then she, lives in the town, and it's all what happens. I would love to play like a character on a show like that for 10 seasons where I'm the quirky cat lady that bakes pies. One of those kind of characters. How you doing, Jeannie? Just made some cookies. Come on in. I do audition for those parts. I don't get those parts. I think I'm a little bit too weird, but yeah. Or a series,
how,
a long.
Gilmore Girls had all those random side characters.
Yeah.
Do you think they got paid well?
The side characters?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they have to get what the union pays. I got paid decent for Hot Frosty. I just had a couple of lines. I think it was a scene. Yeah, they get paid good. You can make a living if you're doing that because you get I guess SAG would be that in Canada.
US,
it's ACTRA, right? So you get what ACTRA and you get they feed you when you go to work.
The whole day on set sounds amazing.
They feed you. Some places have better food than others. But Twisted Metal had decent food. That's the thing I look forward to the most is lunch. That was me in school.
Yes. Well, it's just nice too that food is made for you.
Oh,
right?
and sometimes you get to pick. On commercials, you're they give you a menu and you're you get to pick what you want. In Toronto, because Toronto has a lot of caterers. When you're shooting, in Ottawa, outside Ottawa, sometimes the caterers aren't as good. So sometimes the food's not that great. But commercials, often the food is really good, and you're getting You're getting paid to hang out with other actors and play all day. And yeah, that would be,
It's
that would
like
be great.
where your personality shines.
Yeah, and we're all in the, like, I feel like actors are a different breed than comedians. Like,
Okay, so when I started comedy,
I'll never get booked again.
I was taking a writing class and I made friends with an actor, and she would come to a lot of my open mics with me, and she was so much better than all the comedians. like I remember, because when you're new to comedy, you talk too fast. It's almost everyone's problem, and any other comedian would be like, go slower, slow down, you talk too fast. And Marnie would go like, dwell in it. Which is like an act. It's something, it's not don't do it, it's something to do, and it doesn't sound like a criticism. It's dwell in it. And I was like,
work your
yeah.
instrument. Work your instrument. Take a breath. Feel it. Focus. Action.
But
Yeah,
it's like that
true.
kind of shared, like everyone understands there's a process involved, and you have to be open and helpful.
I recently saw an interview with Russell Crowe on Instagram. I was listening to this interview, and he said he never took any classes. He just found out what he needed to do. I feel like you have a process, absolutely, but I feel like it's your own process. And I took so many friggin' classes, and I think that me taking the classes was like, I mean, yeah, okay, you take them when you're first starting out, but I think you have to abandon everything you learn and just find what works for you. So yeah, definitely have a way of working, but I think my way of working is just to really, really know my lines well. And if you know your lines really well, and just be really, really prepared when you show up on set, because there's so much else going on set that day. Like there's a camera like right here in your face, and there's people moving all around, and there's the sound, and they're putting the microphone on you. And like with Twisted Metal, we shot outside. We're supposed to be I was peeing in the bushes, and like my big baby was like, "Mama, I want some milk," and I'm like, "Mama's making her water." Be with you in a minute. It's like this character, and it was like,
I wanted to say there's certain parts that like the character is so weird that they can't be like the main character of the show. Right. Like Kramer on Seinfeld. The Kramer show would be like too much, but he's great as like coming in on the side.
Yeah, that's how I would love to do a part like that. I feel like at this stage of my journey as an actor, I would be ready to crush that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I don't know. I think that would be super fun. It wouldn't, because then you're known, and you get to make an impression, and you get to have fun, and you get to be part of the thing, but you don't have the pressure of, carrying it.
Did you watch Will and Grace?
Yeah.
I was really obsessed with Karen and Jack.
Oh, yeah.
And they were a little bit too weird, I think, to be the central pair.
Right.
But I was so obsessed with them.
Yeah. I'd like to be like the weird neighbor, or the inappropriate auntie.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or I don't know, just, even the lady, even like on Seinfeld, they had the soup Nazi.
Yes.
Like that guy?
That's lasted so long. Like that's from the 90s. And everyone, like young people know it. Like people who weren't conscious in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. So like even that would be, if you had like a recurring character like that would be amazing. Like you're on it, you're working consistently, you're paying your bills, but you also get to be famous and get to, I don't know. I love when people recognize me from the Christmas movie. Like I get messages, I just saw you on TV, like my family like messaging me, and like friends, like I just saw you on TV, and they take a screenshot of it. It's so fun. I love it. I think I would love being famous. Like I'm older now, like I don't, like it's different. Like if when you're younger, people want things from you, and I don't know, I think it would be cool.
And people who don't have their identity sorted yet, it fucks them up. They don't know who they are.
Yeah, exactly. But I love it. I love it when they're like, "Oh, I saw you in a commercial," and I think it's a hoot. I feel like more people have seen me in those things than the 8 or 9 years I've done comedy. Like in terms of like, wow, I made 6 people laugh at an open mic.
The one thing though with stand-up that I love is that I wrote it.
Right.
do you get that feeling like when you're doing your own comedy?
Yeah, I mean, I've done one-person shows at the Fringe Festival. Like, I've done 7 one-person shows where it's just me on stage for an hour, so I've written the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely, you have control over what you say. Somebody, because I mean, let's be real, not all the parts that, as terms of acting that you get, you're gonna like, and sometimes you get these, these auditions and you're like, oh, this is such a stereotype. I get so many like old ladies that are like looking at their husbands and going, oh dear, like this sort of like, I don't know, passive grandma parts. I don't get cast in those, but they're out there, and the stereotypes of what they think old people can do. And I've been lucky because like the psychopathic grandma got to do fighting. That's a good part for an older woman, but there's a lot of stereotypes. So when you write your own stuff, you can say what you want and it's yours and you own it.
Yeah.
And I like that about comedy, but at the same time, you develop a set. I develop a set. I have like a solid 20 minutes, and then you get really good at that. Are you going to do that 20 minutes forever? Like, it takes a long time to develop a set where it's tight. And then, but the comedy, it's nice to write, but you have to continue to write all the time. And I find with acting, like, I'm not going to lie, it's really nice when somebody gives you something they wrote and all you have to do is bring it to life.
Yeah.
Like with comedy, you write it and have to bring it to life. So I don't think in my heart of hearts I'm actually a writer, although I think of funny things all the time. Like yesterday I was walking by a place called the Public Eatery.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that like a library where you go in and you get a plate of food and you take it out for 3 weeks? Like, I thought of this, right? And then you just come back. Or can you renew your food? Like, do you get to renew the fries? Will they still be fresh? Do you get a card? Like, I think it's such a stupid name for Public Eatery. It's only for the public who can afford to eat at a public eatery. I mean, do you know how expensive a restaurant is? And it was down on York Street, so it's obviously really expensive. Like, this is something that went through my mind yesterday. So, like, as a comedian, because I think funny, right? Everything I think funny, right? I would like take up my book and write it down, and comedy kind of takes over your soul.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly thinking of funny things.
And it's sort of too, like, when you think about, like, as a comedic actor, I feel like you don't have to be a writer, but there is a lot that you bring to it that's more than just acting it out. Like, because you have to know that it's funny and why it's funny. Yeah. So, like, I feel like when you see the behind the scenes stuff of your favorite comedies, it's more likely the director let people run with it.
Yeah.
Because I think some of the best, like, like the scene in Bridesmaids with the shitting scene.
Oh, that's like, so good, that movie.
It's such a, like, moment that's alive and there's a lot of energy. So you don't want it to be, like, perfectly blocked and, like, don't interrupt her line and you say this exactly, like, but it's like you need to have actually funny people. Yeah. So they can, like, make that stuff happen.
Yeah, it's so true. You bring, I feel like the comedy has led me to the acting. Like, I'm really relaxed now. When I was doing the fight scene on Twisted Metal, I improv'd a little bit and I grabbed his ear and he said, hey lady. And I said, yeah, hey lady, right? Like, I just like started improving, and the director said, keep that, so I added that. When I was doing the Turtles commercial, like, it was a very ensemble. I know it's just a commercial, but we had this rehearsal and I added lines, like, in the improv, like, we were improving. I said, how about if I say this? Like, how about if I say that? Like, and not even asking if I could say it. It's just, you just do it.
Yeah.
You just know you can do it. It's a creative, you don't want to take too much license, but you get an instinct that it is going to be funny.
Yeah.
Like, you're not trying to be funny. That's what you learn. What I've learned being a stand-up comedian, like the timing. So you bring that timing and you bring that to the role. That's why I think if anyone wants to do comedy as an actor, they should do stand-up, because also you're in so many situations where you have to, like, not be phased. And there's so much going on set. I think that comedy prepares you for being on set and, in those situations. But yeah, you're always writing all the time. Like, I was talking another interview I watched, a lot of interviews with, I think, Jerry Seinfeld, and he was saying it's like all the time he's thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like,
he never stops.
Yeah, like the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, and I feel like it does, yeah. and you're
For
writing
me,
down, writing down, and then yeah.
For me, I feel like it's like I always just have these like moments in the day where like my mind just like moves into being silly. And I think it's because like I spend so much of my time being like really like I feel like I'm annoying myself all day because I'm like trying to get shit done. I put everything like I don't know how to explain it, like too analytical all the time, and then my brain like moves into the other thing, and then and that's where I'm funny, but I'm also lazy and I can't write things down. Or sometimes it's hard to write down because it's like it might not be like well thought out, or it's attached to like a fantasy I'm having, so it doesn't fit. Like I'm not necessarily going like, oh, this joke about the post office that I can do in a set.
Yeah, I find it really, I don't know if it's like the ADHD or whatever, I find it really hard to organize my sets. Like I have a tight set that I figured out, and it's really hard to organize, like and I come up with new material, but it's just so loose, and I don't know, I feel like it's really hard to organize. It's like you writing it down and then sitting down and figuring it out, and I find that a challenge. And I feel like comics who write a lot, they're usually like the better comedians. They're writing constantly.
Yeah.
They're constantly writing down new material and trying out new material. So it's like you never get a day off. You're always working. But at least with acting, like you do the script, you do the audition, you do the thing shoots, you shoot it. And then, you're always auditioning constantly, but it's not like you're not writing the copy. You're not writing the script. And then it's so wonderful when it comes out, and then and then it's out, and it's like, this is so fucking cool. Like that's me. Like my daughter, we watched the film. They came over for Thanksgiving, and she says, "Oh, Mom, this is going to be on every Christmas. Even after you die, we'll watch it."
That's actually really cool, though.
I mean, it's kind of cool, right?
And there's the whole thing where like a lot of, like when you're, I don't know, people worry about being forgotten, but it's like I don't know how to explain it. Like there can always be descendants of yours who are like, this is our Christmas movie, Grandma.
I feel like live performance is where you really hone up your skills. Like you really hone your skills. Like there's nothing like learning how to work a room and performing live. I mean, it's fantastic. It's like the best thing, right? And then being able to translate that onto a set, where you're, because for me, I mean, there's always people watching you. There's the crew, so if you can make those guys laugh, right? It's like I feel like if you're at an open mic, if you can make the burned out comedians laugh, then you have a good joke.
Yeah, for sure. There's also like I feel like when you're at an open mic, a lot of the time it's not a proper stage, and it doesn't really feel very stage like.
Yeah.
So you have to bring the performer vibe in a shitty atmosphere that doesn't trigger it.
Yeah.
And then I feel like that could be helpful in acting.
Yeah, you're always bringing yourself to whatever situation it is, there's also like sometimes you go on auditions and the director's just an idiot, and they don't give you a chance to really do it again or try it again. It's just they just wham bam, you're in and out, and you just don't connect. You just know right away it's not going well. You bumble a line, and it just goes from worse to worse. And you walk out of there going, oh, I just want to have a shower. When you feel so ashamed, you feel dirty. Just many auditions like that. Or I just touched that. I don't know if that matters. Or you just there's so many other actors. It doesn't really matter who else is in competition with you, but sometimes it's just not, you're just not the right one. And then you see the show, and you're like the part that you auditioned for, and then you see the person who got it.
Oh.
And because you see all the time, you're auditioning for stuff all the time. So then you see the commercial, or you see the show.
Yeah.
The Office Movers. That's a show that's on Crave right now. I think it's called The Office Movers. Anyways, I auditioned for a part, and then I saw that the woman they cast, and I'm like, well, of course they cast her because she was totally a different type than me, like older, but like more like not as like wacky, like not as like sarcastic.
Yeah.
Like I have a lot going on in my face. I remember years ago talk about classes. I took a acting for film class, and that's kind of what they told me, that there was a lot going on in my face, and I don't think they said it in a way that was good. And then what I loved about comedy when I started doing it was it doesn't matter what's going on in my face. Like, nobody cares. It's funny. If I have a funny face, that's good. And so I got really self-conscious. But now it's come full circle because I have a lot going on in my face, and the parts that I'm getting cast in, they want a lot going on in my face.
Yeah.
They want me to raise my eyebrow, or or do something with my eyes, or make a face. Like, I have a lot, and so that works for comedy. But at the time when I took that class, I think I was like more trying to be a serious dramatic actor.
And they want a like deep subtlety.
Well, yeah, and there's this like I call it like phony film acting, where people talk like this.
Okay, I was just...
And they have one tear.
Somebody was making fun of this, but they called it whisper acting, and I wasn't sure what it was, but this is what you mean, like when you try to get depth by just whispering.
Yeah, it's so they said to me, it never really mattered that I did that in the past. And they would talk like that, and I'd be like, what? I can't hear you! Because I'm not like that in real life. Like, when somebody tells me something, if my daughter tells me something that happened on a Hinge date, I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? You mean like he shit his pants on the date? Like, whatever it is. Right? Are you kidding? What? Like, I'm very animated. My family's very animated. My dad was Israeli. He used to yell and scream, and like, I mean, we were loud. Like, we had, oh my gosh, I come from a loud line of people.
Yeah.
So that all seemed like, I thought, is that film acting? And then it would be like, just like, you know, the one tear. And like, then I did this short film for a nursing home, and it was like a commercial for them. And the story was a woman's husband gets Alzheimer's, and she's taking care of him. So it was actually a dramatic role. It was me and my husband were in it together, and it was a serious like ad for getting private care. It was like to get private care in there. And there's a scene where I had to be like crying. And so they didn't even make me cry. They just came over and they put fake tears in my eyes. It's the first time I ever had fake tears put in my eyes. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. I don't even have to cry. Awesome. And then when I saw the final product, it looked like I was crying. And I'm like, oh, so I bet lots of actresses do that. Like, they don't even really cry on camera. Like, everyone's, oh, they're such good actresses.
Yeah.
They just like get the right angle.
Most people are ugly criers too,
yeah,
right?
And you
like,
cry,
you
your nose runs. You ever see anybody really cry on film when they're doing it? Their nose starts to run.
Yeah, and I think I just get like I get red in my face.
Your face goes
in a
red.
Way that I don't think they want.
Yeah, and also for continuity as well, right? Like if they're filming it again, like I guess I don't know.
They want you to start back at the beginning.
Yeah,
when your face wasn't red.
I guess. But yeah, it's so this whole like whisper, like you're sad, but you're holding it, you know. Oh, it's so phony. It's so like so full of shit. That whole like it's annoying. I just can't.
I feel like you have a very like comedian personality, because I can tell how much you're bothered by phoniness. Like, not just because you just said it, but like just when I see you around, you're always like, no, this is.
I know. I just can't. I guess that could be like my neurodiversity. Like, I don't like fakeness. I just don't like it. And so I almost would prefer if somebody is in a way like miserable, if that's who they are, you know. But I don't like negativity. Like, I don't like talking like badly about people, or like gossiping, and unless it's in my immediate family. But like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather talk up people, but yeah, I think that does make me very much like a comedian, because comedians complain about everything, and that's the comedy. Like how dumb things are.
Yeah.
You know? Like the TTC, like see something, say something. Like, yeah, right. I'm not going to say anything. You say something. You know, like a lot of comedians make that joke. You see something, say something. Like, okay. You know, like it's just like the ridiculousness of life. So, Yeah, I do like that about. I'm at a weird space in comedy now because I really just don't. The last couple of times I went to open mics, it was just gross, and I'm just kind of exhausted.
Yeah, it's hard getting the comics to be a good audience to each other.
Right, and so I'm just sort of finding. I'm just kind of always finding my way. Like I run the monthly show at the Flying Squirrel Motorcycle Cafe. It's a first Sunday of every month, and it's 2
Is
p.m.
that in the East End?
Yeah, it's in the East End at Queen and Greenwood, and it's at 2 in the afternoon. It's clean comedy. I like because I ran that show at Sidekick for a couple years.
I loved that show.
Yeah, and it was on Friday. There was an open mic every Friday. I got the last Friday was my show, and it was clean comedy. And I love doing. I mean, I like dirty comedy too, but I just find that most amateur comedians that do dirty comedy, it's not funny. It's just gross and sometimes mean.
Yeah, if you have a clean show, you can sort of eliminate people who are just showing up to be like,
Yeah, they think they're being edgy and dirty, and they think they're, exercising their right to free speech when they're just being unfunny and mean. And the nice people who come to your show that,
Yeah.
got in their car and found parking and a babysitter are just seeing, this like pathetic guy like saying mean things, and it makes them leave, and they think there's like some sort of badge of honor when you walk the room. It's just a crazy mentality. So when I have the clean comics, these are people who write jokes, and I can get better comedians. And most really good comedians can do clean, and even the ones that do dirty can do clean, but
You know
not
what?
necessarily.
I
But
might want to experiment with doing like a storyteller show, because I think that's another thing that really bad comedians won't show up to, is if like you have to tell a full story.
right, I've been on those shows. I usually get booked on those shows as a comic, and then they mix it in with storytelling.
Oh, I haven't seen that before. That's
Yeah,
very cool.
Crystal Bartolese, do you know her?
No.
She's amazing. She's an artist and a comedian, and has done many one-person shows, hit shows. She was running a show called Age is Just a Number, and she had me on that show, and she also had some storytellers as well talking about aging, and a lot of my material is about aging.
Okay.
So I did my set basically, but I guess sometimes my material can lend itself a little bit to storytelling. So although I don't really think of myself as a storyteller, I don't really understand the difference, because I feel like when people are telling a funny story, it's just funny, or maybe
Yeah.
it's just not like tag, you do a joke and then a twist and then a tag.
Yeah.
And it's like a punch and then bam and then bam. Like, those are jokes versus
Yeah.
the story. Like, I never really understood the difference, because when it's good, it's good.
Yeah. I think like getting the beginning, middle, and end happening is harder for new comics. So sometimes there isn't a story there. There's like an
Oh, yeah.
opinion, but there's no like.
Right. But then you kind of build on your premise. I remember watching Jim Gaffigan, and he did this whole thing about goats, and he just went on for 10 minutes. It was hilarious. He goes, "I'm not done yet." And he just kept having more and more about this thing about goats.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. And then he would take a breath, and then he would keep going. So I think you can kind of like, but that takes like,
But everything he does, maybe not to the extreme of the goat set, but it's like he leaves no stone unturned. Like whatever he could go. And it's weird. Like
yeah.
I feel like I'll go on a topic and I'll touch a couple things and then I'm done.
I feel like that's the difference between amateurs and professionals. I think that professionals will keep going until there's no stone unturned, like the apple is completely eaten. As with amateurs, they think they need to have new material all the time, but it's all underdeveloped.
Oh.
I can never see a tight 5 from an amateur. And when they get that tight 5, that's when they start doing, like book shows, clubs, and
Yeah.
moving on to festivals and things where you need a tight, that's the difference, I guess, between like just open micers and professional comedians. Professionals they'll just keep eating away, hammering away till there's nothing left, peeling the orange till it's
Yeah.
and adding tags. And also too, like not feeling like you have to do new material every time you go to a mic. Like, it's okay to like work a set till it's tight, because that's what the festivals all want. They want tight sets.
Yeah. When you did your one woman shows, what were the themes or the topics?
All the topics related to aging and being a woman. Like, they're pretty feminist themes. The one show that I did, called One Flew Over the Cubicle, was actually about my dad's Alzheimer's. And it was about a woman in search of meaningful work while doing a series of soul-sucking telemarketing jobs.
Amazing.
So pretty much she was trying to make a living, and so it was all the characters that she couldn't hold a job. She kept quitting, and at the same time she's quitting, all these different, so it's kind of like office craziness, lights down, lights up, talking about my dad. And as her dad declined, so did all the jobs decline, until there's this big meltdown at work, and she storms out. And at the end of the play, she decides that she's going to go back to school and become a recreation therapist. So it was like autobiographical, me going into working in long-term care. That was the story of my life at that point. It was 2012. So that was that. Another show I did was called I've Been Trying to Pass My Driving Test Since 1978. And it was just about me trying to pass it for 6 times, and starting out in the 70s and then just failing and failing.
That's how you know you're neuroatypical, is when you don't have a driver's license.
You don't have one either?
I have one, but I passed it like in London, Ontario, and I never really learned how to get on the highway. I never learned how to drive in Toronto. I don't drive, although technically I have the license. But
yeah, it took me a long time to learn how to drive, and I didn't drive on the highway for years until after the pandemic. I got my license when I was in my 40s, eventually, because I needed to. Like, I had 3 kids, and it was really hard, not being able to drive them around.
Yeah.
So I got my license when my daughter was, I guess, about 2 or something, and then I was able to drive them just locally to their programs and this and that, right? And then I didn't go on the highway, never went on. I was terrified until my husband used to drive me. When I first started doing comedy, he used to get him to drive me to gigs in Hamilton and stuff. And then I decided I was going to be a real comedian after the pandemic, like, I guess when we were coming out of it. I'm like, I'm going to be a road comic. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be a road comic. I'm going to go from town to town, telling my jokes. And nobody wants to go on tour with me, and so I'm going to learn to drive. And I did do that. I got on the highway. I went to Hamilton. I went to Peterborough, all across Ontario, like, you name it. I just, all Brantford, Brampton, all these places in Ontario around.
Yeah.
I started driving, and I said, I'm going to drive comedians. That didn't last too long, because I don't think they want to get in the car with me, because I drive like a maniac. I miss turn-offs, and I'm really nervous, and it's just like it's a terrible situation. I'm nervous when other comedians are in the car with me.
Yeah.
So it's usually guys, and it's like, it's okay, turn here. Like, I'm nervous. I don't like driving. I don't mind driving if it's just myself and my best comedy buddy, Desiree Walsh. Like, we go on road trips together all the time, because Desiree is great. She says, I don't mind you're driving, you get me there safe, and you don't want to do, cocaine after the show. You want to just
smart.
come home. You get me home, home alive. But, I got tired. I got tired of doing that. I got good at driving though. And then, I don't know, and then recently I just don't really think I have it in me to do that, like, to go on the road. Like, unless I went on the road, like, I see people go on the road, like, they pick their people that they want to tour with. So I would have to get, like, the right people too. But it's a lot. It pulls you out. That would mean I can't audition for anything.
Yeah.
I don't know how you make money. I guess you have to, like, fill up venues, and I don't know how people do that.
We should do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, someone could book the venues. I'd be great to do a summer tour.
I would love that.
That would be awesome.
I feel like I can figure it out. If you can drive, I think I can figure out
how to do that stuff.
Yeah,
I'm down, man. And we have and then we have we need like one more person, I think.
Yeah,
one more comedian, and then we could figure it out. I would, because I'd be down, But I don't know. It's just like, it's sometimes the hustle is like a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah. But I feel like everything sucks when you're new at it. Like when I first started doing my podcast, it took up all my energy. And now I feel like it's less stressful. Or like when I was new to going to mics, that like burned me out. But then, so it's like the touring thing will be really hard at first, but then it'll become normal.
Yeah, and I've never toured, but like the thing is, when you've been doing it a long time, you see like your peers like going off to like, you know, doing like their albums and like JFL, and like they're booked with clubs, and like I'm just still at a mic with 3 people, you know. I'm like, well, I don't know, like I guess, like, you know, so it can be frustrating, but I always say just keep showing up, you know, you'll find where you need to be if you just stick around. Oh, it was who was, because I watched all these actors with these interviews, and who was it saying, Morgan Freeman.
Yeah,
he said the reason actors don't become successful is because they quit. And I feel like that's with everything.
Yeah. Didn't Peter Dinklage get his Game of Thrones role after he almost left? Like he had gone back to an office job, and then he was like, no, I can't do this. And it was just weird. I know him from Game of Thrones, so to me, he is an actor. But he wasn't. He was a guy that could have done a lot of different shit, and at some points was walking out of it, you know?
Yeah, I remember seeing him in an independent film. Like once somebody becomes famous, they bring back all the weird student films they did, and they put them on Netflix late at night or something, right? I remember seeing him in that. He was good. But you do hear that. You hear like, oh, I was just about to like give up, and then this thing came along. But I feel like if you don't quit, and also I saw this interview with Jerry Seinfeld, and he was talking about Bob Gaithwaite, you know, the guy that yells and screams. Anyways, this comedian, and he didn't like him. And he was saying that it's not about being cool, it's not about being in the in crowd, it's about writing jokes and being funny. And that's what it is. Like that sometimes I feel like you get so wrapped up in that other stuff, like high school.
Yeah.
You know, like where you're not in with this group or that group, or you're not like part of the cool kids.
Yeah.
You feel like, well, I don't really belong. Well, it's not about belonging, it's about being funny.
Yeah.
So
and there's an audience for you that doesn't care if people in the comedy scene don't have a good opinion
it's
of
true. You have to find your audience. It's hard to find your audience, but I guess if you don't give up, you eventually just find where you belong. And if that means that you need to leave, you need to leave. But also, it could also mean that you find your audience, however that happens.
Yeah.
So you just have to keep at it.
Amazing. Okay.
Are we done?
Yeah.
It seems like we've been talking for at least an hour.
But can we just say once more, what's your show? It's a monthly.
Oh, yes. For comedians who have clean set, I do a monthly show at the Flying Squirrel Motorcycle Cafe. It's at Queen and Greenwood, which is Queen East. And
that's the...
Yeah, so that's the first Sunday of every month. I get about 6 comedians on, and 2 in the afternoon. So people really like it. They really like coming out to comedy in the afternoon. It's apparently they do this comedy in the afternoon thing in New York.
Nice.
It's like a thing.
Yeah, good way to enjoy a Sunday.
Yeah, and it's a good way to just like, hang out and enjoy Sunday, and we all have a really good time. And we kind of make fun of the fact that we're doing comedy in the afternoon. Comedians like the sun. Oh, like we're night creatures. Yeah, and it's a blast. We have a lot of fun. So I think the next one is January 5th.
Sweet.
That's the next one.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Janice.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me.